Here's a Model A brake light switch that is not functioning. It does seem to push in quite well, but the contacts don't work. So I measured the continuity between these 2 points, and there's nothing there. So it should be shorted out. So when these are shorted out, you get the brake light to illuminate. So let's take it apart. Looks like you take out these 4 little tabs here, bend them, and it comes apart. Looks like it's spring-loaded. Let's see what's inside. After pulling the tabs back on the cover, this is what is inside. First of all, some rust, quite a bit of rust down here. And then we have a spring. Looks like there's a plunger that goes back and forth here. And it's supposed to make contact with this copper piece over here. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, lubricate it, and see what we can do. Okay, now what I've done is I've lubricated the shafts here. There's a, looks like a paper washer here that pushes against here and then pushes these 2 contacts down below there, and that turns on the light switch. I also lubricated the bushing up here as well. So now it's time for reassembly. Okay, it's all reassembled, and right now the switch is working properly. Let's test it. Right now it's showing a short, so the brake switch is contacted. So we're going to push in the plunger, and it should open up, which it does. Breaks the circuit, and then when you push the brake pedal, it shorts out and gives the completed circuit and turns on the brake light. So the switch works just fine now. So I go back and forth a few times. There we go. We're ready for reinstallation. Okay, now that I've rebuilt the brake switch, here I am in front of the 1930 Model A two-door, and this is going to go in. We're going to climb underneath here, underneath the car, and show you where it goes. It goes way up in here. Let me bounce around a little bit here, get a bit closer. Alright, it goes up here. Up, way up in there. You can kind of see where some of the existing bolts are. But let me go underneath here. It's kind of interesting how it basically has the plunger push against that lever. And when you hit the brake, it releases the spring, and then it turns on the brake switch. So let's get that installed underneath here. Okay, I've reinstalled the brake switch back to its original position using the original bolts after I rebuilt it. But there's one issue here that we have, is that the plunger rod, if you can see that, but the plunger rod doesn't line up with the rod itself that engages the switch itself. So I'm going to have to make some adjustments to this rod so it lines up with the brake shaft plunger. So let me see what I can do. Okay, I took the brake rod out and took a look here at the end. So I'm going to have to do some bending here. If you can see how the plunger has been riding on one of the edges there and slipped off. So what I'm going to do is bend it so it lines up correctly with the brake switch plunger. Okay, with some mashing of teeth and some expletives, here is the finished product here. You can kind of see, if I can get it in the right angle, where the plunger is riding on the brake lever there. So right in here. So you can kind of see it in here. So that's the good news. It's all lined up. Now the next challenge is to get all of these wires. Here's the wires from the front of the engine here. Oh boy, you can barely see them here. There you go. all the way through here. These are the brake light and brake switch wires through here, all the way. They keep going and back, all the way back to the back of the car. So that's the rear wheel up and over to the tail light. So that's next. Okay, here's the old wiring harness that went back to the taillights and the brake light switch. You can just see some of the original connectors on here. Red and green, I think they are, right? Yep, they are. Anyway, so that's that. Okay, I had installed an entirely new wiring harness that went up and all over throughout the system. And so along with that is a new brake and tail light wire assembly. This assembly comes right out of this connector here at the end of the steering column into the switch assembly off the steering wheel switch. So what I need to do is route this, but what you'll see here, these two wires go to the brake light switch itself halfway back, and then these go all the way back to the brake light and tail light. So let me route those and get some clips to clip it to the frame and let you know how it turned out. What I ended up doing then is running the wire harness from here all the way back, snaked it all the way along the frame, all the way through. It comes all the way back up around the axle, up into the fender well, over here into that connection there, eventually back into the taillight assembly. So let's test it and see if it works. Okay, I have connected the remaining part of the wiring harness that goes back to the brake switch and now also back to the tail light and brake light here. So now let's test it out and see if it works. There's the brake light by itself. Here's low beams. All right. All the way up to the headlights on the high beam. Those are working. So, success. Very excited to finally get all of this rewired and working properly.